When you're starting out doing in-person sales, there's so many what ifs that swirl through your mind.
Yes, and we're talking those awkward moments. Today we're going to go through all those awkward moments that you kind of play over and over in your head of things that could happen in your in-person sales. We're going to talk about those, and we're going to talk about how you can avoid those. Ready?
Yes.
Ready for today's coffee talk?
I'm ready, Anna Bartell.
Okay. Cheers. You always make your mug go all the way off the screen. Okay.
You should
So,
totally say that.
I'm going to. I'm not cutting any of this. Okay, ready? So, let's talk about some of those awkward moments. So,
Let's.
Yeah, let's. I already know some that I think about. Like, okay, what if they have not even opened my pricing? Yeah,
Oh.
that could happen.
Awkward. So awkward. What if, though, they've opened the pricing, but they haven't showed the husband the pricing? They actually wanted you to do the hard part.
Right, yeah. So sorry, I forgot to show my husband this before the in-person sales. Or, even worse, they didn't even invite their husband to the in-person sales appointment.
And then they can't make the decision because
Yes.
the husband's not there.
So, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to talk about this with my husband. Come.
Yep.
Or how about they just plain think you're too expensive?
Awkward. Okay, so
Or-
here's... Oh, go ahead.
No. Or, I have one more. Or they're not planning on purchasing this evening.
So
Ugh.
awkward.
Awkward.
So awkward.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about how you can potentially avoid these awkward moments. So for me personally, I know that the second that somebody inquires with me, every communication I have with them is going to be very clear. I am an over communicator. There's a big, great debate on if you should show your clients your prices. I believe 100% you should not only just show them to them once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, over and over and over
I don't
again.
want I don't want it to be a surprise. Like, they
No
should not be
surprises.
surprised at all by my prices once I'm at
No.
their house.
It's literally attached to every email correspondence that I send them. It'll be like, oh yes, and if you haven't had a chance yet to look at the client guide, here it is. Here's the link to it. Blah, 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 over and over
And
and over
Anna,
again.
you know what I even do? I actually make them sign a portrait agreement, and in that portrait agreement, it says that they've looked over my prices.
Yes, that is a great idea. I'm going to do that tomorrow. That actually is. That's a really good idea. Making sure that when they sign that, like, obviously, if you're making them sign something, then it's very important that they look it over. And that will cross their minds, for sure.
Right. So what Anna and I do is when somebody inquires, they get our prices, but not only that, they get what is in the client experience, and in the experience is going to be in-person sales. So that's the first time that they see it. Then the other thing that I always make sure to do, I'm sure you do this too, Anna, after the shoot, I'm really excited. I'm so excited for our sales appointment. We call it something different, but so I'll be coming to your house, and I just, in 30 seconds, I don't take a long time to do this, but in 30 seconds I just run through, and they know that they're going to have to order, and I say, and just make sure you look through those prices again, look through those collections, and talk it over with your husband. It's very short. It's very sweet. It's at the end of our shoot, so it's on a high note. But at least if they didn't look, say they just signed the agreement and they hadn't looked at it, now I've verbally communicated this. And then what do you do after the shoot, Anna? Again, because we're over communicating here.
After the shoot, we're over communicating again, and I've already scheduled my in-person sales night. I do that from the beginning, but I'm still going to email them, and of course I'm emailing them anyways to thank them for a wonderful shoot and let them know that, you know, I can't wait for you to see these. We're engaging with the excitement of the session and saying they came out wonderful, because of course that's their biggest fear is, did they even come out? And we're doing that, but then we're preparing them again. And yes, we've probably already told them 3 or 4 times about the in-person sales night and about our pricing, but we're saying it one more time and just saying, and don't forget, here is the link to the client guide that will show you everything I have to offer, so you can get some idea before I arrive of what you're thinking that you would like.
Now, it can still be a little bit awkward. So this is kind of the awkward moment that I have. And I've combated this by, at the photo shoot, saying, it's a really good idea for you and your husband to decide on a collection prior to me coming. You may change your mind, but it's a good idea to just kind of get on the same page with your husband before I even come. But before I started saying that because this happened. I went to the client's house. They were totally prepared as far as they knew that they were ordering that day, that night, and they also knew that what my prices were because they had seen the prices. But they saw them individually and they hadn't talked them over yet. And so they're like talking hush hush, quiet. Have you ever had this happen, Anna,
yes.
where they're like kind of like, and they don't want to have you hear. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? This is so awkward. And so I excused myself to the restroom. I mean,
Excuse me while I go hide in the bathroom so you make your decision.
That was like the best idea I could come up with. But honestly, it was a good one. I mean, it worked out well. I tried not to be in there too long, but I also didn't want to be in there too short. You know, it was kind of weird. But I came out and they had made their decision. But because that happened, I made sure that in my little synopsis at the photo shoot to say to them, you know, come upon an agreement with your husband prior to the in-person sales session.
Right. That's great. That is gold, actually, guys. That's gold right there. So, yeah, make sure it's gold. Yes, make sure that they've talked it over because that is the key to being able to close that sale that night without any of those awkward moments. And
That's
never
right.
be afraid to go use the restroom and let them have a minute to talk about it.
Just go on to that restroom. You just
Or
give
like
them
clean
time.
up. Like if I've brought like chocolate covered strawberries or something, I'll be like, let me clean this up and give you guys a minute to talk. It's okay
or
to
I'll put my
acknowledge.
samples back into my car.
Yes,
I had to do
it
that
is
once.
actually okay to acknowledge that they might need a minute to talk and excuse yourself. That's okay to acknowledge that because
Right.
I feel like awkward moments are always made less awkward the more that you talk. I mean, don't like ramble, but the more that you over communicate and say, you know what, I'm just going to pack up these samples and get them in my car and let you guys have a minute to talk it over. That's fine.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep. Because the main goal is you've got to close that sale. You've got to close the deal that night, right? So just know that you may have some what ifs, and to write those what ifs down and then to come up with what you can do, because as long as you have sort of a plan going in, it doesn't feel quite as awkward, okay? And let me just tell you, you're going to have way more what ifs than actually happen. So just know that from the start, okay? It's really not going to be that bad. You're going to end up loving in-person sales once you get your groove and you've figured out what you're doing.
Yes, it can definitely be overwhelming to hear all of these or to think about all of those. But I'll actually tell you one story. That one of our Profitogs, she was making a video for us and she talked about this video and she said, you know, my in-person sales appointments don't feel like they're in-person sales appointments. She goes, I barely even have to talk. And that's because she's prepared them so well that they're raving about the images and they're making choices on their own, and it doesn't become a super salesy appointment. It just becomes a facilitation, basically, of them choosing their pictures and ordering what they want. So you will love it, and it's not going to be hard or awkward, we promise.
If you want to learn more about how to do in-person sales, we are launching Profitography, and we go all into way more than just in-person sales, but our Profitogs feel very confident once they go into their first in-person sales appointment. So, all right, until the next time, the next awkward moment, we are out.
We're out. You got to cheers me.
All right, let's go.
Cheers.
That dumb Justin Bieber song in my head. Ugh. Too late to say sorry. 'Cause I'm missing more than your body.
Oh gosh. Fun.
Elizabeth's not a Justin Bieber fan, but she loves One Direction.
Oh really?
And they're breaking up.
Yeah, they are. It's so
Why?
sad.
Do you know?
What? I don't
Do you know why?
They don't like each other.
When you're starting...
Sorry.
When you're starting... Why don't you need headphones is what I'm wondering.
I'm wearing headphones.
Oh,
I just don't have hot pink headphones like you do. I went for black, like the color of my hair.
Oh, gotcha.